Back live in the studio, the Viewpoint. Our guest this morning is Logan County's clerk, Sally Litterly, telling us the multitude of tasks and duties that they perform on a daily basis up there. Mrs. Busby's had some very pertinent questions, and you were referring to a list that you had prepared to Mrs. Litterly. Did you have an opportunity to complete the things that you had jotted down that you wanted to be sure
I think
cover?
I told you about absenteeing should start on February 25th.
And the importance of that election.
And however, I would encourage if they want to absentee on the 25th to call our office first to make sure that the ballots are ready and available in order to do that.
But don't rush in yet, folks.
No, don't come yet because we don't have anything.
I have
to
a
vote on.
Stupid question I'd like to ask you.
Again?
Yeah, another one. More of the same. With our being such a mobile society as opposed to what we were 100 years ago, when I got a marriage license, it was in Hennepin County, Minnesota. Now, I've been living here for 45 years. If I had divorced poor old what's-his-name, it would be in Logan County. How would they know, way up there, that I wasn't married to him anymore? How in the world do you do all that?
Well,
Turner pigeons.
I do know in Illinois again, that's a circuit clerk question, because the dissolution is done through the circuit clerk, through the court system. But we do get notifications within Illinois when a marriage is dissolved, and then that notation is placed on that marriage license. So we know it in Logan County within Illinois. So I guess the circuit clerk would notify Hennepin, Minnesota.
So you're not just communicating with us sweet folks here in Logan County at all. There are all kinds of things for which you have to keep in touch with other states, aren't there?
Yeah, and in Illinois we have a new system. It's the Illinois voter registration system. And that's a system now when we put on a new voter, it immediately notifies the county in which they were previously registered to say, hey, we have this person now. We're going to take them, and you take them off your system. So that's a really nice feature that we have that we've started with the state.
And this speaks to the necessity for both offices, circuit and county, because the impact they can have on people's daily lives as they go about their lives and so forth, trying to recoup old records for whatever reason. And that means that they have to be entered on a timely basis and be accurate.
Right.
But it's up surely to us as individuals to keep the powers that be, you and Mary, abreast of what we're doing, because you've got to, if I move, I've got to let you know that, or the next time I go to vote, they're going to tell me that they know that I moved from there.
You're right, Judy, and you bring up a really good point, which you as an election judge know, that when you're sitting there and a voter comes in and they say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm here to vote, and you say, well, you're not in my book. Where do you live? And they'll say, well, I live at 101 wherever, and you say, well, that's not here. Did you move? Yes. Well, I can't allow you to vote because you've moved out of the district, so therefore I can't allow you to vote. So it's very important that individuals that move also change their voting information. All they have to do is call our office if they're within Logan County in order to get that done, to change that registration. If they're coming from another area, state, or another county, they need to come into our office, go into the driver's license facility, any local library, they all offer those services as well.
And if I die, I should call you too.
Well, sure, yeah.
Well, I hope before, not after.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would. I suspect that you have not continued the time-honored tradition of the Franz era, when Pete and I used to vie for who would be the first to vote in our precincts. Pete was always trying to be, and I always deferred to, if we got there at the same time, I always deferred to Pete and let him vote first. Wish I could do that today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. However, we have been very lucky here in Logan County to have the quality of help that we do have in those clerk's offices, and both of them are And if you don't think they're important, ask any lawyer around here, because they're using those officers on a daily basis for whatever purposes they need. Insofar as how far back do your records go in your office? How do you know? Not specifically, but
well,
generally.
about 1839.
Really?
And then what we've done is start a new project with all the deeds and mortgages, and right now we have them on our electronic system. So if you were an individual and comes look up something, it's at your fingertips on the computer from 1984 to present. Now we're going back and putting all those documents on the computer so you can have that access to them as we go. So now we're in the 70s trying to load those on.
Going backwards on that thing.
When there was the big fire and all the records were lost, what year was that? Prior to 1839?
I don't remember.
At any rate. Now, what if
She wasn't
somebody
there.
is in... No, she wasn't. Pete wasn't even there. But if somebody were into genealogy and looking back, how would they ever get beyond when the fire occurred?
Sure. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of resources out there with genealogy.com and things like that. We do have a lot of people that come in and do genealogy. Sometimes they go to the library and they do research to the library. Some of the newspapers, they'll find journals from when people came over on the ship list, things like that they can find more information. And then sometimes they find information from the cemetery district, where the dates, the births, or the deaths are on the cemetery
Let me ask you a
information.
question about that, Mrs. Litterly. If I come in here doing some research on old Uncle Fudd and don't know much about him, is that an intrusion on your daily activities of work up there? In other words, would you prefer we go somewhere else? Because you do have a lot to do, and those records are available somewhere else.
I will say during election time, yes, that is
Well, I want to make that clear.
a very difficult thing to do to help others do research. However, we do have books that those genealogists can go through and look those things up themselves. Then they fill out the form, and the majority of our births, deaths, and marriages are on a computerized system now that we can pull that up. Much easier, because we used to have to go to the books. 10 years ago, we'd go to the books, pull it out, make a copy, and then provide that. So that took a lot longer.
When you've got books there you don't want people messing with either.
Right,
They
we
get
do
a little
have
delicate.
Well, and we do have a section that is, of course, the public can't view. And
Yeah.
we have that posted. But you're right. We still have some books that we can't let individuals pull out because the pages are falling apart.
Yeah, right. And we have to preserve what we can, including ourselves.
I've been working on that, but it's not working out. Speaking of preserving, staying active, it takes somebody rather physically fit sometimes. Those books are pretty good-sized books.
Yeah, they always say don't arm wrestle with the recorder. Because
Yeah, you've
doing a
got to
lot
have
of
some pretty
lifting.
good biceps to have those things.
Yeah, I've slowed down. You know, I was 31 when I started this job, and
Were you really?
I think I
Just a
thought I
babe.
was. Yeah,
A world
I
beater.
was Wonder Woman. I could lift
Yeah.
anything.
Well, you are.
Since then, I've had 3 discs replaced on my neck and some other
Little
minor
surgeries here and there that-
So I've slowed down quite a bit.
That's
Well,
what
we-
happens. Life's a dear teacher. It catches up with us, doesn't it?
Oh, we appreciated your presence very much, Sally. Take your time to come up here on a rather non-mild day.
It's my pleasure, and kudos to you guys. Yeah, you're good friends, and I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate
Well, we
your
extend the
nice
appreciation of the
emails that
county
you
to
send.
Bless you.
We always try to close Viewpoint with a comment pertinent to the subject of the day, and today's subject would be government. And I dug this one up, and it says, "It is every citizen's duty to support his government, but not necessarily in the style to which has become accustomed." Thank you very much for Viewpoint.